The call here is Kilo Charlie 4 Echo November Lima. Name here is Doug around the Atlanta airport.
Kilo Charlie 4, repeat the rest.
Echo November Lima. Echo Nancy Lima.
Roger. And what was the name?
The name here is Doug Delta Oscar Uniform Go.
Roger, Doug, and you're around Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm a mile northeast of the Atlanta airport.
Roger. And what radio are you running, sir?
Well, take a guess.
Sounds like a 7300.
Yeah, you got it.
Yes, sir. There's a lot to be said for 7300s. I think one of the things about that is the simplicity in equalization. Because what happens, I found, that when you dissect multitudinous frequency equalization pieces, you take out the absolute linearity of the audio spectrum. You've developed sectional ups and downs. Even though all those pots may be 0, 0, 0, you still have some degree of sectional separation in a tonality. But with the 7300, you're only working on two equalizers. The deal is you have a balance between the treble and the mid-range and the bass and the mid-range. And the uniqueness of not having a mid-range control is, I think, just brilliant, because what happens a lot of times, people will start playing with that mid-range control, and it makes it so much harder for the treble and the bass to catch up with it. So I come and Bob Heil said, we're not even going to put a mid-range control in this thing, and we're going to keep it simplistically personified. And I think that's just a beautiful idea, Roger.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've seen people have the worst audio. They go buy them a graphic equalizer and run the mic through that and try to correct it. Some of them work pretty good. Yeah, but you want to keep it, you got bass and treble, you got to get that adjusted just right. I'll agree. Now, this is the hand mic that originally come with a radio, but yeah, these are good radios. And thinking about buying another one. If I can find, they're probably all over the place, but I think another thing too, you got these, I think have a preamplified mic. You've got, I don't know, maybe +5 or maybe, I'd say +5, 7 or whatever volts going into the mic, so it's got a preamplifier in the microphone itself there, over.
Roger, I can pretty much tell you what your equalization pattern is. I would say you're probably running a +5 on the treble control and a -2 on the bass.
Yeah, I'd have to go in there and I wrote all that stuff down. Sometimes I said it and I left. Let's return that. Let me answer this call here real quick. I'll be right back. KC4ENL.
Roger, sir. Yeah, I can pretty much tell what's going on with those 7300s. It just are such beautiful transmitters, and running them in that transmit bandwidth, the 100 to 2900, just is so beautiful, because it gives you just a slice of daylight before you become involved in somebody else's conversation that they don't want and you don't want. So that's why we say that you should be running in that wide TBW 100 to 2900. Matter of fact, I think you should set all three of the TBW selections to 100 to 2900, and therefore you can't mess up, and you give that 7300 transmitter the best capability that it can possibly have.
I'm back, KC4ENL.
Yes, sir. So I was just talking about that 7300, 100 to 2900 TBW adjustment. We want to be in that wide mode because it will give the 7300 transmitter the best possible opportunity to shine. Roger?
Yeah, I think some of these other manufacturers are going to probably follow suit too. But yeah, when I started that, I'm thinking about getting another one of these just for a backup. Wouldn't mind having two of them, really. Maybe I'm just stingy, I don't know. But I got this thing right there when COVID first started, so I went up to HRO and they handed it to me through the door over here on Beaufort Highway in Atlanta. So, been a good radio. Take good care of it and everything. One of the better radios. Me, I'm kind of a kin with Motorola as far as 2 meters. I've worked with a lot of Motorola stuff, so I like the way they got their mic set up. It's kind of sort of mid-range, more nasal. They're also a preamplified mic, but I think some of the newer Motorola's got an adjustment in there where you can adjust that a little bit. But it's like the old Motorola Max Tracks and all that. They have some pretty good audio and got a real good front end on them as far as the intermod. So where might you be at, over?
We're down around Louisville, Kentucky. We're on the Indiana side of the Ohio River, right at Louisville. And yeah, the old Max Tracks and those radios are just beautiful radios, for 2 meters or 440. And those, excuse me, Motorola microphones are really nice. It's got, they have that 2-pound weight in the microphone, so it feels like you have substance. You could really use that as a weapon if you needed to.
Oh yeah. They did that. They did that in the Motorola base station mics too. I've wired a bunch of them up. They got like a little weight in the bottom of it to where it'll sit up straight. But yeah, especially dispatching, you kind of want to keep it more to the treble than you would the bass. But I don't know. I remember back in my 11-meter days, they called them so-called dynamic mics. They weren't dynamic. They're dynamic, all right. Some of them were the worst sounding microphones you'd ever want to hear. So you would get you like a ceramic cartridge, like a D104 or something of that nature, then put on the radio, and that'd clear your audio. It had more punch to it, but it had a high impedance crystal microphone. It was preamplified, but they had a good sound to them, over.
Oh yeah. Motorola, incidentally, was using that electret mic in most of their stuff. Because it was impervious to heat. Unlike crystal mics and all that stuff, those electret microphones and those mics in those Motorola handsets, hand mics, had a little funnel that funneled the audio from the front of the mic coupled into the electret directly, and they were really, really nice mics there, and it's. You could always get a good signal-to-noise ratio on that mic, even when, you might be hanging out there in the middle of a hurricane or something. If you use one of those mics, they're going to hear you.
Oh, yeah, well, they got them now, like they got noise-canceling mics. Some of the newer rigs. Newest Motorola I've got around here is like a Motorola M1225. My God, they made that back in 97, 98, almost all the way up in the 2000s, but the new stuff they got out now, it's a whole different thing. I wouldn't mind getting a good Motorola, use it as a 2-meter base station, a 110-watt mobile rig, use it as a base station. Boy, that would be nice. Them 110 watts, they'll hold the power too. There's a lot of Motorola repeaters that run that way. I've seen people use mobile units and 110 watts. They'll hold up pretty good as long as they're well ventilated and you got a fan on them.
Yeah, Roger. So there was a Max Track, and what was the other one, the big one?
Oh, they had a bunch of them there. I forget what the model numbers are, but the Max Track. I'm sitting here looking at one right now. Still works. Then they have the Motorola GM300, Motorola Radius. All of them come out back in the late 90s, all of them. and then come out with the Motorola M1225. Now, and all the newer stuff they've got out now. But I remember going to the Hamfest back then. You couldn't touch one of those radios for less than $400 or $500 used, and now you can get them just for about nothing.
Yeah, and there's still beautiful radios. I was just thinking, you may not know this, but that Max Track, see, that was a radio that they didn't put a blower in it, and so they said, well, since it doesn't have a blower, and it may serve a lot of time in taxi cabs and places where people tend to, not have air conditioning and not, treat their radios very well, we're going to put something called a declining RF output situation. And so with the Max Track, the longer you key it, you hit a certain point where, normally in amateur radio, you're talking about a 50-50 duty cycle. I'm sorry, but even at that, after about 10 minutes of 50-50, it'll start automatically declining its output, and after about half an hour, it's probably at least just a half power output, unless you make a change in the control circuitry, Roger?
Well, I used to program them, so yeah, you can set the timeout timer on them things. And when I programmed them, and made the cab drivers mad, I'd set them things for 15 seconds. Believe it or not, you can say a lot in 15 seconds, but because you get people who want to sit on the microphone, they laid it between the seat and all that good stuff. So what I did, I set the timeout timer for 15 seconds. Usually factory default, I'm thinking it's 60 seconds or a minute, but you can set it whatever you want to, but 15 seconds, you can say a lot. If you got to say more, you rekey the mic and continue.
That's right, and you're long-winded if you can't say it in 15 seconds.
Well, they'll call for car number 29. You say, go ahead, get us such streets. You say, Roger, that's it. That's the extent of it. Of course, if you used to read off credit card numbers. I remember that too. Then you have to set it out for a little bit longer. Some cab companies do it right over the radio. I couldn't believe it, but and you'd set it for 60 seconds. But most generally, before then, it was 15 seconds. That's all you needed,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I love that Motorola stuff. Just beautiful radios, and that the second-hand market comes back because those are wide band, I believe. They are naturally wide band, Roger.
Yeah, the Max Tracks and all that. Yeah, you can't use them anymore because of the narrowband mandate. Other than use them for ham radio. The newer stuff, like the M1225 or newer, yeah, those will narrow band. You can set it narrow band or wide band. So I had a bunch of them things around. They're a small radio, a small compact radio. It put out 45 watts. You could probably get about 70 out of it if you pushed it, but then you run into the other problems. So you set it at factory default 45 watts, and that's all you need.
Yeah, Roger. I just think they're just great myself. I've got probably about 4 of the Max Tracks, and I have about 3 of the 100-watt jobbers. One is a 6-meter, one is a UHF, and one is a VHF. I've got them. They're kind of in mothballs, sitting on a thing right below me here that I haven't fired up in quite a few years, Roger.
Yeah, well, they're KC4ENL Friday. They're awesome radios. I used to do, buy some ham equipment. I'd go down, I'm in Atlanta, I'd take it downtown to Intermod Alley. I knew exactly where to go. You take one of those consumer grade, like ham radio or an ICOM or any of them things, intermodule tear it wide open. But if you take a Motorola down there, yeah, you get just a little bit, but not bad. But there again, you know, they had filtering in it, bandpass filters and things of that nature, which would filter a lot of that out. But the amateur radio stuff, it would overload the receiver. It wasn't useless. And I don't know about the newer rigs today, but back then there was a lot of activity on UHF and VHF.
That's right, Roger. I remember experimenting, taking a Bofang, and those big Motorola's, they have about a 2-watt driver. And I remember disconnecting the driver from the PA system and taking that Bofang output and running it into the Motorola final, and just using a twist, a couple of twists to couple it into the PA system. And man, that was a Bofang on steroids, man. We're doing about 110 watts, Roger.
Yeah, well, that's an example. You take one of them. If you take one of them Bofang radios back then, downtown would be useless. It would be absolutely useless. And a lot of people knew that, especially if you were a security guard or worked police department. All of them used Motorola radios. All of them did. But anything else, and I've seen people do which you're not supposed to, but you know, take a consumer grade amateur radio equipment, use it for land mobile communications. Yeah, you could probably do it. Wouldn't want to. The FCC. But they don't want the average Joe to have what they call a channelized radio, something that can be programmed from the front of the radio. That was the reason why they didn't want you to have the ability to change frequencies on a whim, you know, and things like that. So that's the reason why they made that regulation like that. But with the Motorola stuff, you got to have the programming software like the Motorola MaxTrack and all these, the older Motorolas. I've got the old DOS software. They program in DOS, so I have to reboot computer in the DOS and to program those radios. And I recommend having like a 386, 486 processor back in that era. But yeah, I've got the programming software. It still works. I've got an old Gateway computer I had back in I guess I got that back in '98, something like that. Had Windows 90. What I do, I just take it and boot up into DOS, and you can do all the programming and all that. And the Motorola M1225 had they started using Windows. Windows XP and XP and another. I think it was Windows 98. But if you programmed it in XP, it stayed programmed. You had to use XP, but if you used Windows 98, you could get away with it. But if you upgraded the programming software, you programmed it with Windows, like I think 2000, something like that, you would. But that was one of the first ones that they did that with. Over.
Yes, sir. It was actually Motorola stuff, older Motorola stuff, actually depended on the lower speed when you were programming it. Sometimes if you would try to program with a more modern computer, it just was too fast, and the Motorola stuff couldn't handle the speed, Roger.
Yeah, and you would end up with a boat anchor. Never had that happen. But that's why I use a laptop when I program these radios. Power goes out, you know, your battery is always going to be there for the laptop. So I always recommend to use a laptop. I can't say much for the radio. Hopefully the power, hope you got the radio hooked to a battery or something. But they say it's pretty bad if you lose power in the middle of uploading the information. They say you have to ship it off to Motorola to get it fixed.
Yeah, or just go to another flea market and get another one, Roger.
Roger, they're good radios. yeah, them things will go and go and go. I've had a lot of them. I've played with a lot of them. I sure have. The Motorola GM300s, they'll drop down as low as 146 megs. No problem. The GM300s, they'll cover the almost entire 440 side. But 2 meters, they were kind of, and the Motorola M1225, yeah, they'd cover the entire 2 meters. But you get down to around 145, 146, you start losing PA power. Of course, there was a thing in the programming software where you could kind of pad it over, but it didn't really help that much. It actually you would have to actually pad it over in the PA circuit.
Yeah, Roger, but you can still, get 30 watts on the higher side, higher frequencies in ham radio, Roger.
Yeah, if you get down around 146 megs, you'd key it up, and it would key it up, and you'd see the power in a few seconds. It would kind of back off, and it wasn't that PA amp really wasn't liking that too well. I guess it was out of its range there, over.
Roger, well, that was what I was telling you about the designed power output drop over a period of time of operation. That was part of the programming of that radio, that it would automatically start dropping power the longer you talked on it over a period of time, because they didn't have a blower on the final, Roger.
No, they don't. Well, when I built a repeater out of a couple. I took two Motorola GM300 and I built a repeater. And so what I did, I took a big old muffin fan, like computer fan, put it right there in the back of the PA units, right up on it. And them things would run continuously that way, but you had to have a lot of forced air, and it wouldn't back off on the power. And you could touch it, and you didn't have to worry about it burn to your hand or anything, but you had to really have some good air circulating across them heat sinks.
Roger. Well, I burned my fingers a few times on those heat sinks before I started using blowers all the time, and it's just amazing the difference of a little air circulation as far as heat in those heat sinks. Roger.
Yeah, like the MSF 5000 or the MSR 2000, one of the old base stations. They got great big old heat sinks, so they'll handle that 100 watts, but they'll get warm after a while. But I don't understand why Motorola kind of fudged on the heat sinks for some reason. I guess the guy was good enough; he could build him a heat sink and mount all that circuitry on that. The radio looked kind of weird, but yeah, you definitely need more. I'll give now Kenwood. I've got a Kenwood TMV71 dual band, or the great radio, but the whole chassis is a heat sink, and that thing, I can run 50 watts all day on it, and the PA don't get that warm. Also, it's got a fan, so when you key the radio up, the fan's always running, and the fan will cut off probably about a minute after you unkey the mic.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, even at a 50-50 duty cycle, you still can concur some heat because those radios were not designed for 50-50 duty cycle. Those were probably 10%, 90% duty cycle.
Oh yeah, the repeater I built, it ran 100%. It sure did. Oh yeah, I had it up there for a long time. But yeah, I had a 442-825. But I used to have a friend of mine. He'd get more longer winded than I would, and just go and go and go and go. But they held. They sure enough.
Roger. Well, gosh, what was the name there again?
The name here is Doug. The call is Kilo Charlie 4 Echo November Lima.
Echo November Lima. Roger. Been a pleasure there, Doug. 73 that way, sir. And you just sounding beautiful. I've got you wall to wall of my 7300. I have a spectrum analyzer tied to the output of the 7300. I'm not running any noise reduction or anything like that. So it's just what is. You know, those 7300s are good down to 100 cycles, and we're recording that and then placing it up on YouTube. So if you want to hear what your audio sounds like, if you go to YouTube, do a call letter search for KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook, that will take you to this recording, and I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow. Roger?
Roger. Well, okay. Well, fine business. Like I say, yeah, you sound good. You've got good audio, and yeah. And like I said, I'm probably going to get another. I might try to get me another one of these ICOM 73. What I really would love to have, I'd like to get me an Ameritron AL82. I've got my mind set on one of them, but you know, Ameritron's going out of business. You know, they're not making them anymore. So I got to find me an amplifier. It takes a couple 3-500Zs. But it would be nice, you know. Like one guy told me one time, a long time ago, no, I'm running on a resonant 40-meter dipole. It's sort of like an inverted V. It's 5 feet off the ground on each end. It's more, I use it more or less like an MVIS antenna more than I do anything else. But of course, you know, you're always going to get someone say, hey man, you know what, they do make amplifiers, and they really do. You might want to get you one, over.
Roger, now you are running some kind of power, Roger?
No. I'm doing, probably about 80 watts.
My, you are really, you're about 15 over my noise level, Roger.
Yeah, you're doing the same thing there, yeah. I think it's just the band conditions. Are you getting any rain up that way?
No, not yet. Not that I know of, but I haven't stepped out recently.
Well, they say we might get some rain here, so you never know. But yeah, you got good audio. Yeah, you got real good audio, and yeah, ICOM got it right on these radios. That's, I guess that's why they call them the people's radio, almost like the Volkswagen car.
Roger. Well, it's a lot of hard work from SK Bob Heil. He worked on the front end with that microphone. That hand mic is worth its weight in gold. It's just a beautiful thing. Probably cost you about $400 to duplicate that provided hand mic. In my estimation, it's a electret microphone. It's just beautiful. You have to, of course, run it to the side of your lips, talk across it like any electret microphone, but it really sounds beautiful. And I'm not sure exactly how much Bob had to do with the choice of equalization and not using a mid-range equalizer in that radio, and just using a treble to fixed mid and a bass to fixed mid EQ control. I think that's just brilliant, though.
Well, you know, I got to look like at the old AM radio stations. They use what they call them Optimod, and that's how they get their audio. That's why you hear some of these ads. You hear some, you know, it picks up the breaths and all that stuff because it's compressed so much that. But like on an AM radio station, you hear that a lot. I always wonder why does the music sound different from the AM broadcast compared to the being actually dynamic on the record player back then, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, they run those. Now those Optimods work good, and I think some ham operators use them on AM. I do like AM. I really do. Sometimes I get on the high side of 40 meters here, like 72, 90, some 95, somewhere like that. You get some AMers, and some of them's got some pretty nice sounding stations.
Roger, Roger, Doug. The thing, I've spent about 50 years in commercial broadcasting, and I like AM radio myself. The last job I had was with a 50 kW, and I really like 50K as from the standpoint of quietness. There's a certain thing about AM radio, ham AM radio, doesn't quite give you the quietness that commercial AM radio does, Roger.
Oh, yeah, we're a lot more money involved in it, too. But I think a guy get one of those Optimods on the used market. I see them on eBay. You could probably hook them up to a ham rig, and it'd probably do it pretty good if you get it adjusted right.
Oh, yeah, you could. But like I say, I think the simplicity of the basic 7300 is just beautiful, and unless you're, back to that third octave equalizer, 10 band, and even the 10 band, they don't do the right frequencies. They don't, with a 10 band octave equalizer, third octave equalizer, they don't give you a 2.7 kilohertz push frequency. They give you 2K and a 4K. Well, Christ, what happened to 2.7, which you need, Roger?
Yeah, well, sometimes things are better simple that way, it's like in these little AM receivers, the All-American 5, they use, in the audio circuit, there's a capacitor in series, I think before it gets to the audio transfer, that's your tone adjust right there. You can adjust your tone on the radio, or just change the capacitor. But you can actually, that's how you adjust your tone for just to listen to the radio. But you get a certain, I forget what the value of it is, but that's how they adjusted the tone on them things.
Roger, sir. Well, listen, it's been a real pleasure, Doug. Let me say 73 down that way. You're just, you're gangbusters. Mother Nature's been so supportive of us this afternoon.
All right, we'll say 73s, yeah. I've been working all day. I work for a dental lab. I deliver, we do all kinds of stuff, dentures and crowns and bridges. We do all kinds of stuff, dentures and crowns and all that stuff. I'm just a delivery guy, so I take it from the lab and deliver it to the dentist and all that stuff, so that's what I do. So anyway, it's been a long week. It really has. Put a lot of mileage. But I'm going to say 73s, you take care and stay cool. Been hot today, I'm telling you, it really has been hot. So with that, I'll say 73s. And what was the name of that? Let me write that information down. What was the name of that, your website, so I can check that audio out?
Roger. It's Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. That's KC9VKV followed by the word logbook. And that will take you to this recording. It'll be cut number 1 in a series of over 3,000. And I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow. So it's Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor followed by the word logbook. Roger?
Kilo Victor followed by the word logbook. Roger?
I got it.
Roger, Doug. 73, sir. You have a great afternoon, beautiful weekend, and join us next Friday. We'd love to have you. This is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog Network. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.